Hello there, sports podcast listeners. You're listening to the Jordan Miller Sports Podcast, episode 2. It's November 29th, 2018. Coming up close to the end here of November, getting a little bit deeper into the NBA season. Also got NFL playoff seedings going on, so we got a lot of stories kind of catch up on. We're going to talk about yesterday's NBA games. We're also going to be talking about today's games, both NFL Thursday night, as well as the Toronto Raptors and Golden State Warriors. Big games coming up. Let's talk about yesterday. So yesterday we had the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Chicago Bulls. Not a really big matchup, but it was a close game. Chicago Bulls going 113 to Milwaukee's 116. Took Chris Middleton's tie-breaking three with 5.2 seconds left to lift the Milwaukee Bucks for the win. Now, if you don't really know anything about sports and you want to kind of talk up with people who cool teams or teams that right now that no one's really talking about really a whole too much is the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee has been a playoff team to where yes, they're always in it, but they're never really a contender. But right now in the current standings, they're number 2 in the Eastern Conference, with Toronto being first place. Third is 76ers, and then those are really the top 3 teams that have a great chance to come out of the East right now. So if you really want to talk about some teams or some dark horses, you really want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. They're just such a good team right now with Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you didn't listen to the first episode with Justin, my special guest, having a little issues with that, but really good team right now. And if you haven't really watched any games, I would advise you to watch it. Where since LeBron James has left the Eastern Conference this past season, it's been a debate of who is the best player right now in the East. And if you don't watch sports, or maybe you're trying to figure out yourself who the best player, for my opinion, it would be Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is 7'3". Dude can literally dunk it, and it's just incredible to see what he can do in the paint, where he could be 2 feet away, 3 blockers on him, and just dunks it easily. He's easy peasy as a 5'11" man. I wish I had those powers, but he got lucky. The Greek Freak. There's a reason why he's called that. We have other games that happened also last night. Let's start with Utah Jazz getting a away win against the Nets. They're still struggling as a team, but they're still getting some wins, so that's good for them. My Cleveland Cavaliers getting a tough loss against the Thunder, 83-100. OKC with the win. Westbrook ties Jason Kidd on the all-time triple-doubles list, which that's a really great list of players. He's still a young player who just won the MVP just a couple seasons ago. And for someone to kind of have just a great season so far, I think after he had his right knee had surgery, he's done really great to come back this season to help out the team. They've really started rough this season, but they've came back they had up to a 6-game winning streak and doing really well. Cavaliers, big news. They traded Kyle Korver to the Utah Jazz for 2 second-round picks, which it's an okay trade. It's not really doorbuster trade, breaking news, Kyle he's getting an age where he can shoot the 3, but you're not gonna go crazy for Kyle. I think it's a good trade for Utah. For right now, they're trying to get more shooters out there for Donovan Mitchell, so he can kind of get more in the paint, doesn't have to worry too many defenders, and where Kyle can help stretch out the floor. So I think that's a good trade for them. It looks like the Cavs are tanking. It's pretty simple to say that they're not looking to try to compete after Dan Gilbert, the owners, proclaimed that they're going to try to go for a playoff. They're trying to win the championship, and with Kevin Love being injured till at least January, it doesn't really look too good for the Cavs right now. But maybe we'll get Zion Williamson or RJ Barrett. Who knows? Get one of those good picks. I'll talk about the Clippers right now. The Clippers just beat the Suns. Suns 99, Clippers 115. So the Clippers, let's talk about the Western Conference, kind of give a little update. Clippers are first right now in the Western Conference, which usually the Golden State Warriors is a big kind of just dominant, always in the Western Conference. They've been always number 1. If you haven't heard of the Warriors, they are right now the hottest team with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and DeMarcus Cousins. All 5 of them are all-stars. on most teams back then, like when you look in the 80s or 90s with like Michael Jordan, I mean, it was pretty rare to even hear 3 All-Stars on the same team. Like, that was in itself like incredible. But to now have, they added Kevin Durant the past couple of years, and now DeMarcus Cousins over the offseason. I mean, it's just like, how do you stop them? I mean, the only reason why they had struggle issues is because Steph Curry is injured. He's supposed to come back either Saturday or Sunday. He's like to come back, and Draymond's been injured too with a toe injury. So KD and Clay, they're still carrying the team around. They're trying to get them wins while they can, but they're second. Denver third. Denver's a dark horse team too, but it's like it's one of those teams they can win at home. Right now they're like 9-3, but they're 5-4 away, so they're not too really. They're decent. They're just right above. They're like average, but I don't know why that's such a drop off. But gotta look at OKC's 4, Portland 5, Memphis 6, which is Memphis has been a dark horse too. They were up at the 2nd seed and 1st seed earlier this season. So those are some big teams. Also, the LA Lakers. They're 11-9. Really coming back. Like me and Justin were talking about in the first episode. A great way of coming back this season so far. Hopefully they can keep the record going. And also the Dallas Mavericks with rookie. Their rookie's doing really well. What was his name? They've been just doing really good as a team in general. They've done so well this season. And they're just really pulling off some good wins. Beating Houston the other night. I mean, you just like those Houston being the Western Conference Finals team. I mean, that's just such a great team. But they've done really well to kind of strive back after being in the really bottom of the Western Conference the past couple of years. So there's some really good teams. And so tonight, I think the really big game is the number 1 ranking Eastern Conference team, Toronto Raptors, which they're 18-4. And to give you the next team is Milwaukee going 15-6, which it's not a big distance, but that's still pretty good for only having 4 seasons out of 8 or 4 losses and out of the 22 games. That's pretty solid. And then versus number 2 Golden State Warriors. So it's gonna be really interesting. That is on TNT at 8 o'clock tonight. So definitely a game to watch for. To keep your eyes open. We're gonna take a quick small break here. And we'll be right back here on the Jordan Miller Sports Podcast, and thank you for listening. Welcome back to the Jordan Miller Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Miller, and we just talked about the Warriors and Raptors playing at 8 tonight on TNT. Another game to watch for is the LA Lakers and Pacers. LA being the 7th seed, and the Pacers being the Indiana Pacers, is number 4 right now in the East. So both teams are kind of looking to go up in their ranks right now. The Pacers almost the really big upset almost last year versus the Cavs when LeBron was still there, going to 7 games to sadly losing to the Cavs, but go Cavs. But they're really trying to step up and say that they're a team to be reckoned with. And I think that's really awesome to watch, like a young team led by Victor Oladipo, who's a great player. If you haven't seen any of his games or anything, like he plays super hard. And I think that can be really taken away from when he was with Russell Westbrook for a year in OKC. And I think he's just been such a great addition because I think he's done so well too, because he played with the Orlando Magic to OKC to not being in Indiana. He did play for the Indiana Hoosiers or Indiana University when he was in college, and then now coming back home, I think that's really cool for him, just kind of like how LeBron did with the Cavs, just being lucky and fortunate to go back home to play for your team. That's just got to be really fun, be there with family, be with people who've known you since forever in that area. So that's really cool for Victor to be there. LA is a favorite by 5 points, so it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. So let's go. Let's talk about the NFL. Tonight's Thursday night football game. We got the Saints going to the Cowboys on Fox. This game is it's interesting because the Saints right now 10-1. They are the first place in the whole NFC. So with the Rams being trailing behind, Cowboys are they're But they're coming. The Cowboys are coming up. This season they've been kind of struggling, for just really bad. The quarterback play was bad. Dak Prescott couldn't do much. Ezekiel Elliott really wasn't getting the ball at all, and I don't know why coaching was not wanting to give Zeke the ball. Just give Zeke the ball, and he'll get you all the touchdowns, all the wins that you need. But the offensive line was struggling. Defense has been it's been solid. It's going up and down. Their rookie has done really well, helping him out on the defensive side of the ball with Sean Lee's injuries. So you gotta give him a chance. It's gonna be really hard with Saints offense right now, beating my Cincinnati Bengals with 55 points. I mean, just it's crazy to see right now how the Saints are just putting up such crazy offense. Right now, the league changing to more. It's not like a defensive league, but it was equal. So now where it's really they're trying to get offense. It's always been offense. You can just look at the Monday night game with the Rams and Chiefs. I mean, 50 points each. I mean, that was just nuts just to watch that. And for the first time ever, a 50-point team loss, which was the Chiefs. They were 51 and 54, 55 for the Rams. Just great. It's just crazy to watch that go. But back to the game, the Saints and Cowboys. You have to just watch for Drew Brees. I mean, he's having an MVP type season, and you just have to give credit where credit's due. He hasn't really gotten all those attention compared to, you talk about, if you hear athletes, quarterbacks today, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, those guys, yes, they've won Super Bowls, they've won or Super Bowl for Aaron Rodgers, but Drew Brees has been up there. I mean, he just hasn't had it's been either a defense to offensive line issues to even running back, but now they have they're pretty close to just about anything and everything that this team needs. They have a quarterback, they got the two-headed monster of Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram for running backs. I mean, just great. Both guys went to the Pro Bowl. To then you talk about the offensive line has been proclaimed to be one of the best offensive lines, and it shows because Drew Brees isn't getting sacked. The running backs are doing really well. Then you got Michael Thomas is just really adding his name now to the top 5 wide receivers. He might even be, in my opinion, even beating out AJ Green, who's kind of has some injuries the past couple of years. I mean, he's just kind of been in and out. He's always going to the Pro Bowl. He'll go to the Pro Bowl, but Michael Thomas is definitely taking that spot with he can just catch everything. It's just crazy. And their wide receivers are stepping up. They're getting more help from their undrafted rookies too, which I think was really cool to watch. It was 2 weeks ago, he had a record for throwing 4 touchdowns to 4 undrafted guys, which is that's great. Undrafted players don't get their names really recognized. I mean, the biggest names to think about just right now in this year's draft was Philip Lindsay, the running back for Denver Broncos, who's been crazy. I can't even believe the Bengals didn't pick him up. Nobody has, and this guy has looked great. He's just, I mean, they've had running back issues since, I mean, they've had their ups and downs with Manning, but I mean, they try to get that Booker in there in the backfield. He really hasn't stepped up, but I mean, as an undrafted rookie to where you can get a starting job, it reminds you of Terrell Davis, who became he had a really big special teams tackle, and then they gave him a shot at running back, and the rest is history. A Hall of Famer now. It's got Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl rings, so just got to give a shout out. But the Saints, Cowboys, if my prediction goes tonight, it's going to be the Saints. Saints are a 7-point favorite. You just have to give the offense all credit where credit's due. And then it's the big question is the defense of the Saints has been one of the top defenses for run defense, and that's going to be interesting with Zeke. But the thing is, Saints haven't really played a really great running back compared to Ezekiel Elliott. He's at least a top 5, definitely a top 5, where he can run it, he can catch it, he can block extra defenders. So you just have to really watch how do the cornerbacks play for the Saints, and then how does the wide receivers do? The wide receivers have definitely stepped up with the acquisition of Amari Cooper, who had 180 yards receiving the last week, which you gotta. That's big time. After really, no one has even got a 100-yard game, let alone he almost had 200. But let's talk about also this upcoming games. going to just talk about one team in particular. My Cincinnati Bengals versus the Denver Broncos. It's going to be rough the next season, the rest of the season, ending with Cincinnati now losing Andy Dalton for the rest of the season with a thumb injury, who went on IR this past week. So it's one of those things like you don't really want to see them win because you want to see them get a better draft player, because at this point they're 5-6. They're definitely not gonna get the AFC North because Pittsburgh is just on fire right now with how their team's looking, and then even Baltimore has looked at least like a playoff team right now. I believe they're number 6 in the AFC to get the wild card, but you just have to. It's one of those things like, it's, as a fan, you don't want to see your team lose, but at the end, you're not gonna. If you lose, you'll get a better draft position in the NFL draft, and so you'd rather see them lose because then you get better position. And then, I mean, I haven't seen a fan at all that I can think of. They're like, I want Marvin Lewis back. I want Marvin Lewis back. No one is promoting Marvin Lewis to come back, and everyone's saying, I have, unless someone shows me some tweets, sent them to me at the JM_sports podcast. I haven't seen anybody talk about him that want him back. Last year was like the closest chance where we thought he was going to be gone. And I had high hopes because he gets the Green Bay Packers quarterback coach, right? So that's Aaron Rodgers. Then you get the offensive line coach from the Dallas Cowboys, which Dallas has been like a great offensive line the past couple years. So now they look bad. And then the Bengals are like, they're like up. I mean, I thought Terrell Austin was going to work out for defense coordinator, but then became almost the worst. They are the worst defense right now, giving up almost 400, 500 yards a game. Like, that's just, you can't win. You could just. I thought that the defense was their strongest point, specifically last year, because of how they played. The offense, just the first half they did really well, and then the second half they I don't know what happened. Something just. They didn't make the right changes and plays. They've struggled. So, but for this game specifically, Peko is coming back, one of the defensive tackles from Denver, who is a longtime Bengals player. When he was here, he helped get them to the top 10 in defense for 4 of the 10 seasons he was here. Great player. I think if he's not really a well-known player, but if you're a Bengals fan, you always knew his long locks of hair he had was like, it was so bushy, and he's just a big guy. He was always a really cool guy. It always seemed like he loved the community and just cared about it, and it was really sad to see him leave. There wasn't any bad words for him or anything, and so it's gonna be really great. Hopefully he gets a ovation where everyone just loves him. He gives him like a little cheer. Hopefully have a video for him, because even though he wasn't a Pro Bowler per se, he wasn't really like a All-Star. He really helped out the team. He did a fantastic job. I think he should be well rewarded whenever I think they should maybe retiring his numbers a stretch, because I think at the time right now I don't even know if they have who they have retired in the Ring of Honor, but I think Anthony Munoz, and I mean, he's well deserved for it. All pros he has, and taking the Bengals to 2 Super Bowls, the only 2 Super Bowls we have. So, but it's gonna be an interesting game, I think, for Denver, because Denver really needs to they're trying to get into the playoff seeding, and I mean, they didn't look like they had a chance until they beat Pittsburgh, and I think that really boosted their team. So it's gonna be interesting. Got to watch for players to watch for. Philip Lindsay, I already talked about, the running back for Denver. Undrafted rookie. He's got 780 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. And also their speedy wide receiver, Emmanuel Sanders, number 10. Really fast guy. You have to watch. Like, he's going to be the over-the-top guy who just busts the coverage for everybody. 849 yards, 4 touchdowns. Talk about the Bengals. Joe Mixon, I think he had a really good start of the season. It's just, I think with injuries, he just hasn't been the same. It could be maybe the offensive line. I mean, we did lose Billy Price, the center, for a little while. Might be just an issue for that. Tyler Boyd, our wide receiver, who stepped up really well when AJ Green was hurt. AJ Green potentially might come back this week. It looks like it looks good. It looks good like he'll come back. But again, I think it's better if we kind of tank at this point. As the future looks, it's probably better to tank. But Tyler Boyd, 63 receptions, 841 yards. He might get 1,000 for being his third-year player after had a really bad season last season, and he's got 6 touchdowns. So you can't hate on that. You get it's glad to see someone stepping up because with the pick of John Ross just in the top 10, it's crazy to think that we could have had Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes went 10 to the Chiefs when they traded up for him, and a lot of people did that too early on with Andy Dalton, because Dalton was a pick ahead of Colin Kaepernick. Is it a pick or is like the same? It's just a round later. It was close. It was really. I think it was a pick though. And when Kaepernick was doing so well with the 49ers, taking the Super Bowl, everyone's like, "Oh, we could have gotten Colin Kaepernick, Andy Dalton." And I think now we look at Patrick Mahomes, how he set the league on fire now, and it's his rookie season. Don't start me on the whole rookie. Is he a rookie? Is he not a rookie? Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell, completely different. It's not an actual rule. If he misses the whole season, he's not a rookie anymore. So, but this kid's just doing really good as the team I'm rooting for right now is the Chiefs. If they're not the Patriots, if they're not the Bengals, it's the Chiefs, because I can't see the Patriots going back to another Super Bowl. Someone else has got to go. You always like to see the underdogs. The Chiefs, I just remember when I was early on, you could just see them. They struggled as a team. They were always the underdog, but Andy Reid's really turned them around. And you just like to see him. You like to see the guy win a Super Bowl. He's been with Philly where they went to one. But I mean, just you like to see someone like him win a Super Bowl. He's not Marvin Lewis, or Marvin Lewis isn't him. Marvin hasn't won a playoff game, and Andy Reid, he's won playoff games. He just hasn't gone to the Super Bowl since they lost when he was in Philly. So this is it. I mean, like it's not like it's his final. He's definitely gonna get a couple more years. He might get more if he wins the Super Bowl. He might get more, but I mean, with Patrick Mahomes and the way he's turned out, he's at least got another year or two at least. I couldn't imagine anything else. But if it was time to win it, it had to be now. With the Patriots are really the only team I can see as like a threat, even though they're really not. When they're away, they're awful, like after that Patriots and Titans game. But you just gotta be hopeful. I feel like if you are a Patriots fan, you want Patriots, but if you're not, you just gotta bank it on that the Chiefs pull it out. I'm not rooting for Pittsburgh, and I'm not rooting for Texans, because if Pittsburgh isn't my number one enemy, it'd probably be the Texans. Because if you ever watch a Bengals game in the past, when they went on that 5-year streak where the Bengals went to the playoffs, they versed the Texans, I think it was the Chargers, the Steelers, and I don't know the other, Colts. Those are the teams we lost to, all right? If you look back, the first 2 years, it was the Texans over and over. And then if you just watch a regular season game, they just can't win against the Texans. I went to when the Bengals did really well. They went like 12-4. It was like the year when maybe it was 12-4, maybe like 11-5, but it was a year when they versed the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs, and then Jeremy Hill fumbles the ball. But if you watch, if you see that season, the Bengals at the time were like on an 8-0 or 9-0. Like they're just like killing it right there. At the time, they're like doing so well, and I mean, even when you even hear the sports media, if you watch ESPN, Fox Sports, like the Bengals will be talked about a lot with their roster, and like they should be way better than they are, but they're not. But when I went to that, it was like a Monday night or Thursday night game. When they lost to the Texans, it was just awful. I mean, it was like I don't even think they scored one touchdown with Eifert. When Eifert's good, he's just that was like this breakout season, and then he got injured a couple years. But it's a crazy season. Hopefully the Bengals pick it up. They can really do a lot better. Just have to watch how the season goes. Or the next season, I think, really is what Bengals fans are looking at this point than that. But we're going to end the podcast here. This is the Jordan Miller Sports Podcast. Really excited to get this project going. If you want to follow us on Twitter, give you the little Twitter account user handle. It's the JNM _ sports pod. We're also on Twitter. Twitter, YouTube. That's where we'll be updating all this audio going on. So we kind of like go back and forth with snippets. But thank you again for listening to the podcast. If you like what you hear, let us know. If you have comments, leave them on our YouTube page or on Twitter. If you like the special guest Justin, or if you like anyone else, maybe you had some other interesting takes, or if you like to get your own take, we like to hear your voice. This not just make this a one-person voice, but like to hear more opinions. Let us know in the comments below. And thank you for this for listening to the pod, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you.